The 7th of October 2023 was a day of pain and terror for Jewish people around the world. When our Parliament first gathered in the aftermath, the shock at what Hamas terrorists had perpetrated was still raw and growing with each new and devastating detail. Their attack on a music festival that promoted friends, love and infinite freedom, an event attended by so many young people, underlined a core truth. Hamas stands in opposition to all humanity and all that we value as human beings. 2 years on, we remember those who were lost on that day, the largest loss of Jewish life on a single day since the Holocaust. Over 1,200 lives taken without mercy. We remember Australian Galit Carbone, who was tragically among them. Galit's brother, Danny Meishner, joins us in the gallery today, and I'll meet with him tomorrow. I say to him, we hold you in our hearts. We also hold in our hearts all who are still being held hostage, those who remain alive and those who, tragically, not only had their freedom stolen from them, but their lives as well. We stand with their families and with all those who wait. We stand with all those who endure loss. We stand with all those who endure hope, all who have had to hold this 2-year vigil, which must feel like an eternity. And even now, as President Trump presents us with an opening to peace, we owe it to all of them to never forget what was done. Hamas sought to kill and to terrify. They planned a nightmare of scarcely comprehensible cruelty and made it a reality. The Australian government stands with Jewish people around the world who feel the cold shadow of history's darkest chapter in any act of anti-Semitism. We will always stand against anti-Semitism, as should everyone. We must break this cycle of violence and build something better. Australia has consistently been part of the international pressure for a ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the hostages, for aid to flow and a two-state solution. Australia welcomes President Trump's plan to bring peace to Gaza after almost 2 years of conflict and a devastating loss of civilian life. A plan that calls on Hamas to lay down its arms and to immediately release all remaining hostages. In our original motion here in 2023, carried with the support bipartisanly of both parties of government or potential government, we explicitly recognise that Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people nor their legitimate needs and aspirations. We have never wavered from that stance. That is the only path to enduring peace and security in the Middle East, a future without Hamas and a future that encompasses two states, a state of Israel and a state of Palestine, living side by side within internationally recognised borders and recognising each other's right to live in peace and security. That is the possibility of the future that is before us. It is our duty to do everything in our power to seize it.
On indulgence, the Honourable, the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. 2 years ago, the world was changed as one of the most horrific terrorist attacks in modern history was perpetrated against the people of Israel. Women were raped, children were massacred, the frail were struck down and tortured. The violence unleashed by Hamas, backed by the Iranian regime, was deliberate and merciless. October 7 was a brutal reminder of the depths of human cruelty and of the evil that flourishes when hatred is armed. On this day, 2 years ago, a clear blue October sky was punctured by rockets from Gaza as festival goers at the Nova Music Festival welcomed the sunrise. The celebration and unity of that moment would be torn apart as Hamas gunmen breached the border and cut off escape routes. Gunmen encircled the festival and fired, killing over 360 people. This nightmare played out across the region as Hamas targeted towns and homes. By sunset, 1,200 people had been murdered as the attack resulted in the greatest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust. 38 children were killed and 20 more orphaned. Over 250 people were taken from their homes, bound and gagged, thrown into the trays of utes or forced onto motorcycles and taken into Gaza. And as the terrorists forced these hostages into tunnels, the terrorists were welcomed home with cheers, not condemnation. October 7 is the deadliest per capita terrorist attack in modern history, with over one person killed per every 10,000 Israelis. This is as if 50,000 Americans had died in the 9/11 attacks. This was an attack on Israel, but it was an attack on the world too. Almost 80 foreign nationals were killed, including Australian Galit Carbone, whose brother Danny Meisner, a survivor of the Kibbutz Be'eri attack, is in the Parliament today, and it was a privilege to meet with him earlier. October 7 has rent the world apart. Sparking a new cycle of hate, division and violence was the objective of Hamas on October 7, both in the Middle East and across the world. I wish that today, as we mark this dark milestone, I could reflect on the strength of Australia's response. I wish I could be able to say that Australia did all it could to help release the hostages, end the violence and dismantle the terrorist group Hamas. Yet to do so would be a lie. To our great shame, under the leadership of the Albanese Labor government, Australia has not stood with the people of Israel, nor with the United States, as they have sought to dismantle Hamas and establish the conditions for peace. To our great shame, the Albanese Labor government dragged its feet, listing Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organisation. 2 years on, we stand apart from our friends in this time of their greatest need. 2 years on, Australia has failed to stand firm in the face of terror. Australia has been lauded by Hamas and condemned by Israel and by the United States. Australia could have stood firm, and to their great credit, millions of Australians have. But those Australians and our Jewish community have been failed by their government. We have allowed hate to take root onto our streets and into our communities. As homes still smouldered in Israel, here in Australia, protesters hijacked a vigil at the Sydney Opera House with cries of "Where's the Jews?" As Jewish Australians sought to find solace in their moment of grief, they were confronted by hate. In the years since, the tide of anti-Semitism has risen across Australia. We see it in the armed guards that stand at Jewish childcare centres, and we have seen it in the Jewish businesses that have been boycotted and harassed, and in the synagogues and businesses that have been firebombed. We see it in the horrific anti-Semitic terror attack in recent days in Manchester too. We see it in the hateful graffiti sprayed in Fitzroy this morning. I make this clear to all Australians. Hamas is a listed terrorist organisation. Supporting Hamas is not free speech. It is a crime. Those responsible must face the full force of the law. All Victorians deserve to feel safe in their own community. The AFP and ASIO should support Victoria Police to track down those behind this disgraceful act and bring them to justice. To our great shame, there are people today in this country seeking to hold protests this week. We cannot and should not allow the Sydney Opera House to be used as a backdrop of hate. To those seeking to protest, heed this simple message: stop. Seeking to use October 7 to advance your political agenda is abhorrent and un-Australian. Today cannot be only about words. As we mark October 7, we must recommit ourselves to taking action to stamp out anti-Semitism and to affirm our support for the existence of Israel, the world's only Jewish state. The Albanese Labor government must get off the fence and enact the recommendations of their own anti-Semitism envoy to stamp out anti-Semitism. Today, as we mark this moment and reflect on the horror of October 7, there is hope too. There is hope for a path to peace thanks to the efforts of the US administration. We must stand with the US and with Israel and give our support to this process. To Israel, to survivors, to the Jewish people everywhere, you are not alone. We stand with you in grief, in solidarity, and in the unbreakable hope that life will triumph over terror. Israel Chai, the people of Israel live. Yeah.